girls, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. And it is, in fact, the best day of the week. You feel that? You smell that little buzz in your stomach? It means you're about to have a good time, boys and girls. Put a smile on your face and a song in your heart. Gonna have ourselves a jam-packed show. Sean, you always say that. And you always say that. We always say that. I know, and I'm always gonna say it. So just love it. Just hold on to it. Hug it. We're going to be talking a lot of Recruitng with my man, Corey Bender. This is our first time I think we've had him live. I don't know if he knows that, but he knows that now because he just tuned in. So we're going to get him in here, talk the massive weekends that are coming up, some crystal balls that he put in, some tight end magic possibly. Then we're going to get into this Cantwell drama. It's been fun to watch Georgia, Miami, people throwing punches at each other. Who spent what money? We love it. Then we have a new segment that we're rolling out, and I'm beyond pumped about it. It's the hot fans gone wild hot take hotline where you call in and you leave your voicemail with your hot takes, whatever you want to be, whatever fan base you want to be from. We've got 7 to roll out today, which is awesome because we rolled it out just a few hours before the show. Sit back, relax, have some fun. Let's get right into it, boys and girls. Co-host for the evening, Mr. David Soderquist, everybody. Big Dave, how you doing, big guy?
Man, oh man, oh man. You know, it's a great week when both your rivals, Miami and Georgia can just both sit there and just beat the hell out of each other. You can just be sitting there watching with binoculars on and just kind of just take it all in. So it's been a fun week. And of course, I was in a space earlier and it had a Miami fan just bawling his eyes out and crying over a sport. I don't know. It's been a wild week between Miami and Georgia. But hey, man, it's Wednesday. It's the best day of the week. Friday on High Top. Baby, let's get it. Let's go.
It's been a great week. Look, in a weird way, we can make fun of Miami. We feel like for overspending for an offensive tackle. Georgia misses out on an offensive tackle. There's ways that we find to have fun with it. We're going to talk all about it, though, because I think it's a very interesting story. It's been a fun story to watch, and we're going to break it all down later today. But before we do any of that, we're going to go ahead and get our recruiting expert in, Mr. Corey Bender. Let's bring him on in here, ladies and gentlemen. Corey, my man, good to see you, baby. How you doing, bub?
What's up, fellas? How you doing? Thanks for having me on, as always.
Thank you. Your first live show, so hey.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, I can't get over on Dave's backdrop over here with the strobe lights and everything. Since I came out, I've just been staring at it the whole time laughing. Dave's like in a fucking nightclub or something.
Yeah, man. They say that, though, man, with the Jaeger bombs and all that. They think I live in a nightclub. But actually, during the week, I don't even drink, which is hilarious. But maybe on a special occasion of High Top, I will. But
here and there.
Corey just from the top rope, 30 seconds in.
Yeah, dude.
He was giving me a stroke
nice
earlier.
I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Nice seeing you, man.
I was about to say, man, it's been a while. Every time you've been on here, it's just been you and Shelton. So now we get to get a little Corey, Dave, and Shelton action here.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for always having me on, man.
Is this okay that Dave joins into our party, Corey? It's usually just you and I.
Oh, of course, man. It's always good talking to Dave, man. That's the thing. Dave and I always talk, but it's like we haven't actually done like a podcast in a while, so it was good to see him.
Yeah.
Cool.
We usually talking to DMs.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we talk to DM most of the time. That's how we usually communicate.
You go ahead.
I noticed you announced that you were having your child on social media. I don't know. We talked about it on the show. I was like, we didn't break any news.
That was actually the first reveal. Yeah, we did it on the show. Yeah, you and I talked about it at the very end. I remember that. Yeah, and it was funny. I think it was about a week or two after that when I put it on Twitter.
Yeah.
But it was news first, man. It was High Top as the first one to break the news.
Damn, bro. We should have hit a Gaze graphic or something. We were all over it.
How's everything going with you guys? I know you same thing, right? You guys have a kid on the way too, right?
Yeah, man. We just actually had the anatomy scan today. Thank you for asking. And all good, rock and rolling. We don't know what it is. They turned the camera off when they got down to that part, but the spine, brain, it was cool. Like the first time with the last kid, I had no clue what I was looking at. Not that I had any clue now, but you kind of remember seeing some of the features and realizing what it was. And I saw the kid's nose and it looked like my wife's nose and my current son's nose again. So it's kind of cool to see
That's cool. Goodness the second time around, like you said, it's a little bit more familiarity the second time. I feel the same way. Not as much I'm not gonna say stress, anxiety. I mean, it's still there, like excitement, but it's not like you're kind of brand new to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I 100%. Dude, we were there and the guy walked in. Do you have any questions? I was like, just can you get me out of here? I was like, no, we're good, dude. I was like, before the first time, you don't know what to expect. You're asking I remember could she take a bath? We're just dumb stuff. This time, Doc, we're rolling in. We're heading out. We're gonna grab a beer on the way out of here. We're just making sure everything's all good there.
I know you and I have 2. Then Dave has 7 kids, so it's Dave's been through this a bunch of times.
Yeah, I know, man. I've got a whole bunch of kids on X too, man. I have to
Yeah,
babysit too. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. I mean, I support the news, you know.
that's funny.
I
But good
love
stuff.
it.
No, I'm happy for you and the family, man. Congratulations again on that.
You too, man. You too, man. Awesome stuff, Bubba. And you're a little bit later on, so we'll be close in age though. We'll have to do a little recruiting date.
Yeah.
Get the kids
Yeah,
to
no, for sure, man.
pass on those.
Definitely, definitely.
Actually, how old are you now, Corey?
How old am I?
Yeah,
57.
57. All right, there you
No,
go. You look a good.
no, I'm turning 34, Dave. Yeah, so I turned 35 this year.
God, I'm so old.
I
I
caught
don't get
showing
this
off guard
Corey
with
when
that
I
one
talk
too.
to him.
Dude,
Love
yeah,
it.
no, Dave and I always fuck around. Yeah, no, yeah, I'll be 35 this year, man. It's crazy. I remember, yeah, these years are flying by,
Dude, you're
flying
telling me,
by.
brother. 25 to 30.
Yeah, no,
I'm 31. It
seriously.
went quick. It
Yeah,
went quick. My 20s, like somebody said, that look at your 20s. I'm like, damn, I'm not in my 20s anymore. Like that hasn't really hit me
I
until you
know.
said that. Thank you.
Yeah, when you hit that 30 mark, for sure.
I
I'm
still feel
with
like I
you
was
on that.
20. Now I'm creeping to 32. It's not there anymore for sure. I can feel it.
John,
It's
I
and
saw
I'm,
that video you had with the NCAA tournament, the basketball one, the one with you celebrating. It was the basketball tournament. I just saw that recently. I think it was the other day, and I was like, man, that was awesome, man. I don't know how I came
Wait,
across it. It somehow came up on my timeline, man. That was good shit.
well, you know
I
what's
passed
funny?
out.
I got hit up by a hacker on 1010XL, and he's like, "Hey, we love your videos. Would you like to come on and talk about the national championship?" So it got me a 1010XL interview out of that, by the way. Just
Dave
Oh,
didn't even
nice.
do anything. Dave didn't even do anything. All right, boys, let's dive into it. We got
Good shit, man.
145, 55 strong. Be sure to smash like button, subscribe to our man Corey Benders from On Three. Some love. Look, we're gonna separate this a little bit, Corey. So I don't want you to trickle too much into it. I've got your crystal ball segmented, and then I want to talk about the tight ends separately too, because those are two big, I think,
Okay.
targets for Florida. But I do know we have some massive recruiting weekends. We kind of talked about this recruiting weekend coming up with Felix Ojo, which is a big one. I think he just got the number one tackle, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
number 4 player overall too, nationally. Yeah, but yeah, no, he's right up there, 5-star for sure.
values climbing for sure. So we got a big weekend this coming up,
Yeah.
some monster weekend. So let's talk about the recruiting weekend though first, separately, and some big people to watch out for that'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, we can start with Felix Ojo. I think obviously with him being a 5-star offensive tackle, I mean, near at the very top of the board. And I think overall with Florida, yeah, there's ground to make up. But even it just getting him on campus for the Orange and Blue game was a big step in the right direction. This is a kid dealing with Texas, Ohio State, Michigan. The list goes on and on. But Jonathan DeCoster, he was heavy in pursuit with him for months and months. Got rewarded that first visit, and even after we spoke to him, then it kind of still felt like a long shot. We still didn't know if he was going to take an OV. And this weekend, really, it started with him because I think Florida traditionally doesn't have OV weekends at this time of year. And I think you kind of have to kind of bend your rules a little bit when it comes to an elite talent like that. So I think when they looked at Ojo's schedule, he was already filled up all throughout the summer. He's going to announce before the season goes. So Florida's like, hey, if we're going to get this guy on campus, we have to kind of adjust our schedule and change things. They're able to get him on campus for this weekend. And then ever since that happened, it ended up being a pretty massive recruiting weekend. I know right now it's kind of a long shot with a lot of these kids on the list, but it's a very heavy loaded one. And I think overall, when you look at Ojo, I think the main thing Florida is selling him on is obviously early playing time. They're telling him, hey, you can be a day one guy. And I know with Florida replacing several starters, that opportunity will be there. I mean, it's unlike me. You don't see too many offensive linemen play, at least start the year out as a true freshman, but he is one of those elite type of talents. But I think right now, Florida, I mean, Texas is a school training heavily. I think obviously that's a school you got to look at. I think another guy we're talking about, Chauncey Kennan at Sarasota Booker, one of the top cornerbacks in the country. Florida, he last visited this spring. Before that, it was a season opener versus Miami. And ever since then, Florida was kind of not mentioned much. Will Harris, when he was on staff, was in communication. Billy Napier visited him at school. But really, Florida's surge with him has really been Deron Wilson. Once they got him on campus this spring, Florida made his top 6. Then we're able to get an OV for this weekend. And, Deron Wilson spent about 6 to 7 hours at a school not too long ago. So that really made a big impression on that kid's camp. I think he's kind of one of the dark horse guys on this list. I think later in the year, you look at Georgia, LSU, Miami, FSU, schools like that, you probably have to give them the edge over Florida at this point. But I think after this weekend, Florida could really kind of make their move. I know, Florida, he's been to Florida many times. It's really about just getting closer to Wilson, and that's going in the right direction. I think another guy we can really talk about is Kelvin Russell, too. I know you guys are probably familiar with him, 6'6" receiver on Miami Northwestern.
Mm.
Same school from that they got Jabari Flowers out of, so there is some familiarity there. 6'6". It's a guy, Billy Gonzalez loves those big body wide receivers. He fits that mold. And I think overall, Syracuse has been the school trending. I know his mother, if I'm not mistaken, went to Miami and played a sport there. But he doesn't seem like a kid that's kind of like made in Dade, stay in Dade type kid. A kid that's definitely going to go to Miami. I think, in my opinion, he's the one guy that's probably not getting spoken about too much right now that I think Florida can make a big move for after this weekend. The kid's elite. I know he even has basketball offers, Power 4 offers. So 6'6". When you kind of wrap up this list, though, I mean, it's a very heavy loaded list as far as talent, a lot of national All-American type guys. Florida's probably trailing for a lot of them, but I think when Florida gets kids on campus, they're one of the better schools when it comes to OVs. They do a good job of really going from A to Z, impressing the family as well. So we'll see where it all kind of goes from there.
That's good news to hear. We're going to break this up in a couple segments, but I do remember you and I talking about this Felix visit and the fact that this was not originally an official visit weekend. It starts next week and then rolls for 3. And you talked about they're going to make some moves for it. And it sounds like they're taking advantage of the move and having some more and doing a full month of official visits, which is, I love it. I think that's great, especially where Florida sits right now. People are panicking of where Florida is sitting currently in this recruiting. You just mentioned there's a lot of trend and a lot of buzz for the guys that are visiting, and we do seem to close out well. Settle the tone a little bit if we can for where Florida sits currently. Are you panicking in the outlook for this recruiting class?
I mean, it's not ideal. I mean, definitely I'll kind of say that. I mean, having one commit, I know a lot of people keep mentioning USC, but that's kind of a weird situation. I mean, you never see schools at this time of year having over 25 commitments. This is kind of in USC traditionally. I mean,
they lost one today.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of see how they kind of go throughout the year too during the fall. I'm not gonna say they fall apart, but a lot of time you'll see them kind of go through a lot of decommitments. Hilton Stubbs comes to mind last year. They have a lot of guys that end up committing early and decommitting. But I think with Florida, I mean, I think the other thing you have to remember too, Florida did have almost about a handful committed at one time. I mean, Jalen Waters was committed, but Will Harris leaves. That was because of that. I mean, we can talk all day and night about Isaiah Williams. I mean, that recruitment deserves its own show at this point. So, I mean, getting him, I mean, even that was kind of strange. I mean, I thought, honestly, he would have stayed committed a little bit longer. And once I saw his IG get wiped full of everything, it was like him and Ole Miss. I'm like, okay, here we go. It's like we're about to have another, chapter 5. So that obviously was something we had to talk about. And then Devin Jackson, I know he decommitted, but that's like one thing. He always kind of wanted to take a bunch of OVs. He was kind of hinting at maybe reopening his recruitment. It's not often when you get a guy back in the class after decommitting, but you saw it last cycle with Joseph Mbachu, the defensive lineman. Florida's done it before, and I think Devin Jackson, there is a good chance he ends up back in the class. He wanted to take these OVs as an uncommitted recruit. But no, man, it's not ideal. But the one thing I would say, though, when you get through spring, you're so close to OV season. And, when you're at a big school like Florida, you're competing for a lot of high-level kids, obviously, and that means NIL. A lot of big things that come into play, and kids want to decide before the season. So you get through the spring, and they're like, man, I could commit, but damn, I'm about to take my OVs in like 3 weeks. I mean, like, why not just wait a little bit longer so I can compare these schools? So Florida, in my opinion, kind of fell in the mix where just the timing of it sucked. I mean? Obviously, you wish you had Isaiah Williams, some guys committed, but you get there. I'll say this, though. I thought they would have gotten more guys on their list as far as from spring commitments. I thought maybe like 2 to 3. But then, you get to May, it's like, man, these kids start OVs as early as this weekend. So it's obviously not ideal, but I think by the time the end of the summer hits and we're about to go in the season, I think Florida's list is going to pick up pretty good. It's almost – I'm not going to compare it to like the end of last cycle when they just went on a run and got all these guys before sign day. But Florida is one of those schools. You saw it a few cycles ago in the summer I think it was 2 or 3 cycles ago. They got a few commitments. It was just a huge train of them. Just back to back, and I think this year could be similar.
It's a good time.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. I mean, I remember I was at I was going to one of my friends, John Garcia, the National Recruiting House. I was at his baby shower with my wife, and I remember all those kids, 4 of them in one day, I believe. And thank God I had all of them written ahead of time, so I was just publishing on the go. But I remember I was in Fort Lauderdale for a party, and I was like, God damn, this is going to be a crazy day. And you saw Florida just pick up all this momentum. So I think maybe it's not going to be as strong, but I think overall they're going to have – I think by the end of the summer, people will kind of have a different look on it.
That's why I keep trying to preach of like, it's way too soon to panic. And I think that was a good way of a good point out too of it's bad timing. Like these guys are about to set for official visits. There's no need for me to commit. And so after June, July, going into the season, I think Florida has to be in a better place. I don't think the expectation to have a hot run like they did last year is a real expectation. I don't want to do that. That's where I'll panic. This fan base loves to panic. They did it with baseball, and baseball's finding its rhythm. They did it with basketball. It's what we do. We love to. The sky is falling. That's just kind of how it rolls. What are you gonna say, Dave?
We do as we're speaking, we have a new OV added to the list. Because if you see me looking down at the same time, Blake's texting me. He's like, "Hey man, you see this OV?" I'm like trying to look at the same time.
Breaking news.
King Ogaboko, 6'6", 285 pound offensive lineman, top 100 prospect overall out of South Gardner, North Carolina. A guy that really, I know Florida got in on early, but really, I mean, you want to put up as far as the biggest surprise of the weekend, probably him. We haven't talked about him in a good long time. So yeah, that's a national kid. Georgia, Clemson. I mean, right now, Notre Dame, Bama, Georgia, Clemson are the OV schedule. Now Florida. And that goes back to the Felix Ojo thing. You say, hey, we're going to get this kind of campus. I mean, shit, let's just make this a huge weekend. Let's capitalize on it. So a lot of these kids, when you look at the list, and we'll talk about more, I know, like we said, there's other guys we can talk about, Justice Fitzpatrick, other ones, but a lot of big names. I mean, Florida has huge weekends coming up, but if you want to look at just a star power, you kind of almost have to put this weekend maybe above those because it's an elite group, and it obviously keeps being bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and what's funny about it, too, is like we were sitting at 76th, I think, last year, and it was pretty late into the recruiting cycle, and then all of a sudden, guys just kept rolling in. Yeah, and now I think they flipped or they reclassified Jabari Flowers and bumped the high school class up to number 7, or I think number 8 in the On3 industry rankings. I can't remember. I think it was 8. But you talk about the relationships with the parents, and I think that's where Billy Napier really hits it out of the park. And we've had many parents on this show. We've interviewed, Aiden Mazelle's dad, Waltez Clark's dad, and we're trying to get on other ones too to just get a little bit more insight on some of these visits and how the coaching staff relates to these parents when they're on these trips. And it seems that's where Billy Napier's strength is with the parents and the relationships with those parents. And I think that's what really helps him in this recruiting and helps him close it out towards the end. And we know now that Billy Napier and the staff, they don't really recruit early as much anymore. And I think they wait till the end to really try to get some momentum going because this NIL world's crazy. So would you rather have somebody commit really early, have like a number 3 class like we did 2 or 3 cycles ago, writing all these articles, and then it all fall apart at the end? I think Billy kind of learned from that a little bit. And he said, okay, well, let's kind of like take this a little bit more slow. And, he's always the slow and methodical guy anyway, but take it a little bit more slower and see maybe if we can get some of these guys rolling in towards the end of the cycle and maybe counteract some of these. Maybe it's an NIL deal. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's something, and then get them in the mix and possibly flip them.
Well, 100% too. I mean, you see how that Florida operates in the portal. I think there's a lot of guys you'll see as time goes on. You're like, seeing all these schools offer. You're like, come on, like Florida, like why are they not offering? And maybe they do offer, but they're very strategic when it comes to this stuff. I mean, the good thing, that's almost one thing I respect about Florida. They don't get influenced by a lot of schools where you see a Florida State, Miami, like a USC all offer one day. I mean, you'll see it here and there, but they don't feel pressured like, okay, now we have to offer. And they stick by their evaluations. I mean, Hayden Hanson's a guy when they signed him. I mean, who's he? I'm coming to blame. Was he committed to Louisiana? But either way, he was committed. He was not even a power 4 guy. And you see him in person. The dude's like almost 6'8", 6'7", a guy that they developed pretty well. I mean, obviously the Jake Slars of the world. I mean, Bryce Lovett comes to mind. There's a lot of guys. Florida just really sticks with their evaluations. And I know he set that in the last cycle too. Lagonze Hayward was a guy that he even said when the signing day press conference, he's like, we wish we would have got some of these guys early on. But I think the one thing with Florida, they don't back off kids at all. They might finish 2nd or 3rd, and you might not hear about those kids for a while because they're committed to other schools. But Florida quietly kind of keeps putting in the work. And, yeah, I mean, you saw it last year with Woods, the edge just signed, when he flipped from Penn State. He loved Florida all along. He just didn't know Florida, how they're going to do on the field and if the staff was going to be there. And it took that one OV weekend to change his mind. So I think and then look what happened when they announced when Napier was staying. That's when the landslide really started to happen with all these recruits. I think everyone always believed in Napier. And going back to what you said, Dave, about the parents, that's the one thing you hear from a lot of these kids. Like, hey, what do you like about Florida most? I try to always say when I interview these kids, I'm like, hey, put it all in the one. What makes Florida that one of those top contenders for you? And one of the first things they always say is culture and environment. So I think they have that going for them. And I think this weekend, like Kelvin Russell's one, we were speaking to his mom earlier this week, and you could tell she has a really good bond with the staff. She's like, no, we're really excited about this trip. And he's a kid that doesn't do many interviews. But I think this weekend, that's why he's one of the guys I could see Florida really vault up his list.
I'm loving hearing the buzz for this weekend. Because again, like you said, it originally wasn't supposed to be a legitimate recruiting weekend. And we usually have Jubilee June. We might have Mayhem May. Okay, we just might have to have some new words come through. Let's talk about your crystal ball that came flying in today. That has, sorry, Corey, got kicked you out there.
No, you're good.
Has us all fired up. Big time defensive linemen. We love to get these guys. Your thoughts, your feelings. How we looking?
Yeah, so with Veldon So, man, it's a guy Florida has hosted about 6 or 7 times. A guy that even when the 2025 class was in the spotlight, this is a guy, obviously a junior at the time, going to be in the middle of his junior year. And Florida put a lot of work in. A guy, when you see him on campus, he looks like a college player already, physically imposing kid. He's with the PPI recruits, obviously the European-based guys, Onis Kanabeni, a bunch of guys that Florida has had a lot of familiarity and success with recruiting those national-type players. And usually a lot of those guys that need time to develop. But when you see Sone, I mean, the kid's a beast. When I saw him on campus for the Orange and Blue game, he was from the side, so you couldn't really see his face yet. And I was like, man, who the hell is that? I was thinking he was a player, maybe just not dressed for the game. And then same with Joseph and Bachu. They come from the same, PPI recruit, same organization, both super physically opposing kids. And I know Florida feels as if Sone is a guy who can play early in his career. They think physically he can hold up in SEC. More advanced for a guy who's from Sweden. And I think he lives in Missouri now as far as where he attends high school. But Florida's in a great spot. Nebraska and Oklahoma are probably the top competition right now. But familiarity, I think the biggest thing, they always say track the visits and recruiting. And, 6 or 7 trips for an out-of-state kid coming back on June 14th. I think that's the biggest thing. He's coming June 14th, and he doesn't know when he wants to make a commitment, but it's going to be after his OVs. And Florida's kind of lined up as the last OV for him. And a lot of kids will do that, to kind of let that school leave the last impression on them. But as of right now, I know Florida's optimistic. I know it's one of the top targets for Gerald Chapman. I know you guys probably saw on Twitter today, went and saw him again today. So anytime they have a chance to go see this kid, they do. And I think it's that hospitality around the staff. Again, the culture and environment, him just feeling comfortable around these guys that has Florida in the driver's seat from what everyone I've spoken to. I know OVs. I mean, you never know. I mean, the kid put out a top 8, but really, like I said, Florida, Oklahoma, and Nebraska are the 3 we should be focusing on. And if today was, the day he was deciding, I think myself, Blake, a lot of us would definitely be rolling with Florida. So I feel good about that pick.
6 or 7 visits works unless Miami is in the mix.
Yeah, yeah, right. Unless a huge bag just comes around. What about that? Yeah, that was a crazy. 2.5 in year 1?
I'm here. We're going to talk about it later, but I'm hearing $5 million now from Austin Brooks is the number being tossed. I mean, that's kind of how it works, right? The number starts and it slowly climbs up. But
and the thing is too, he's a beast. I get it. Like I get it. Like as far as these offensive linemen, I mean, it's crazy. I think Jackson Cantal. I think he's obviously elite, right? Number 1 offensive tackle, but I don't know if to me, I was watching this film yesterday. I don't know if he's my number 1 overall player, but I think he's the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. But no, as far as that lean body, but big, I mean, he has that makings of that prototypical dude. And you guys saw the Mario Cristobal reaction at the him fucking pumping his hands. So I mean, I get it, but yeah, that's a crazy number to be throwing around.
A little cheese ball, but back to Sone though. The big part, I love that Chapman's being highly invested in. I think Chapman, I mean, look, obviously being looked at by the NFL this past season, the Gators were fighting tooth and nail to keep him signed and up to his contract. I think he produced a lot of value last year, and I think defensive lineman. And look, I think what the O-line did last year and the potential it has this year, I think has a big turnaround. And we've talked about this before when you're on the show of why I think this offensive line recruiting seems to be ramping up as well. Dave was upset because why can't we get the big 5-star guys? I just don't see Florida. I don't see them putting 2.5 into a bucket for one guy. And we're going to talk about that again at the end of the show because I think Georgia kind of took that same stance of look, we'll pay you, but we're not going to
Mm-hmm.
overpay you. And look, schools like Georgia and Ohio State and Oregon, they kind of have a little bit of a stance where they can take the discounted route of we have the championships and the production to say we don't need to pay you this because we're going to make it up for it in these areas, which we'll get to more into that. But yeah, love hearing this about Sone. What's the man, the other kid I think we're getting a lot of buzz around too. I want to get your thoughts on it. What Vodney. Yeah. How we looking on him?
Yeah, so I spoke to him, what was it, not long after the Orange and Blue game. When we saw him in person, I didn't see him, but he told other reporters, like, hey, man, like, I don't want to do interviews. So I waited a few days, called him on the phone, and yeah, he said, yeah, Florida's probably my number one right now. And that was a big, coming from a kid previously committed to Alabama, has Texas, all these big schools. Yeah, no, another kid that Florida's giving a lot of attention to. When you see him on campus, assistant D-line coach Jeremy Patterson, Billy Napier, Chapman, they're always right around this kid. You can tell he's always getting the red carpet treatment. Every time he's on campus, he visited, I believe, 3 times this year, has an OV coming up. And I think right now it's probably, in my opinion, Florida and Texas, because he did go to Texas not long ago. And I know Longhorns reporters, from what they were hearing in Austin, same with Kendall Gervil, they both felt as if Texas made a big move for both those kids. So it's a fairly tight race. But I think right now, when you look at D-line recruiting, Vodney Cleveland, Veldon Sone, those are 2 guys that are probably 2 of the more realistic guys that Florida wants. And like you said, Gerald Chapman, since he's he's really established himself as one of the better recruiters. Really, I think one word that kind of comes to mind for him is determined. A guy that really is like getting on the road and like spending time with these kids. And even Jarrell McCoy, who is kind of like a tweener D lineman, could be an edge. He said, hey, that's my best relationship in recruiting. So I think he doesn't get enough credit as maybe I think it nationally as he should get, because right now I think with Florida having one commitment, people want to say like, hey, it's not about where you finish. You have to get these kids in the fold. But I think by the time this class is almost done, end of summer, I think the D-line class could be really good. And Vodney Cleveland's one of the more realistic guys. I just think the OV to Florida here on May 30th in a few weeks from now is going to be huge. But they're going to have to fend off some other schools too. I feel better about Veldon Sone a little bit more than I do with Vodney, just because of that Texas. Texas does a good job, man. When they get kids on campus, they really can sway these kids and get the momentum going. Where I think with Veldon Sone, the good thing with this recruitment is, all these schools have got him on campus a lot, and Florida has still been able to maintain that momentum. But either way, I think Vodney Cleveland and Veldon Sone probably the 2 most realistic out-of-state guys.
Lamborghinis can sell. Corey.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Lots of
that's why every time Texas is a big recruiting weekend, I'll go click their insiders, like what they have, the info they get. And man, it's like this guy, like Texas in the driver's seat for this guy. They have him with Kendall Gervil, who's a little bit more mysterious with his recruitment. He's going to take it to December. But yeah, they get, like you said, they get kids on campus, and that's all. I mean, like you said, Lambos. I mean, we can keep going on.
They've ripped Xavier, Jarrett Gibson, Phil Simay. That's Xavier. Mabachu, we were able to get him back. DeAndre Robinson, we were able to get him back. He left again. But some guys I
remember Cedric Baxter too, when they signed him out of Orlando. And he was a stud, man. I mean, he's supposed to be, I think, a first-round pick.
Colin Simmons felt like we had good relations with the DJ Lagway, and that kid's a stud.
Yeah,
of all those kids you mentioned, Cedric Baxter, I don't know if you guys have seen that kid in person. That kid, he kind of reminds me, man, 6'2" almost. I mean, one of the more physically imposing running backs I've ever seen in recruiting. Like when we saw him on Under Armour weekend, he looked like a dude almost about to go in the NFL. I was like, he looked like a linebacker playing running back, but like you could tell, okay, this dude's going to be a pro. As long as he doesn't get injured and stuff, like there's no way this dude isn't like a pro down the line. And I saw a mock draft yesterday, and it was like has him in the first round. I feel like he just got to Texas, like it just feels like he just got there. But yeah, we'll see though. Florida and Texas are battling for a lot of top kids. I think it's going to be one of those cycles again where OVs are going to be huge this summer, man. And I think Florida, especially D-line, Florida and Texas, a lot of D-linemen they're competing for.
Yeah, and Florida's track record since Billy Napier's gotten here, especially with Gerald Chapman, they've done a really good job at defensive line, and getting in the McCrays and getting in the 2023 class was loaded with defensive linemen. So that makes me feel good because the defensive linemen, and of course you're going to lose quite a bit this year with Caleb Banks and some of those other guys, Sapp, so you're going to really need to build up some of that depth and some of that future depth. Also, probably you may dip into the portal and get a guy or two for the D line just for experience wise, but Florida's done a great job with D linemen and recruiting them to University of Florida. So that's good news. And I hear some things too. Corey, I got a little bit of my sources too. So I'm feeling really, really good about D line recruiting right now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Kendall Gervil and I think James Johnson, who's at Miami Northwestern now, he's
Yeah.
probably at the top of the board. I mean, that kid's a beast. I know on 3, I think he's still number 1 ranked D lineman, but I know that's a kid. If Florida can, I mean, that's like their jewel. I mean, all these kids they want, but I know that's a kid they really, really want. And Kendall Gervil, too, when we're at the Orange and Blue game, Chapman was off to the side in a golf cart. We're interviewing Kendall Gervil, and he's like in the background joking. So he's like, man, if I don't get Kendall Gervil, I'm going to lose my job, like just joking around. And like, he just constantly is like, go Gators, like, tell him Florida's leading. Like, just joke. He's a jokester, man, that type of coach. But you can tell like Gervil's another guy, like they're really all in on. And we'll see if they can get him in the fold.
Good. Make him think he's going to lose his job. Good.
Yeah, no, he's on the golf cart. He's shouting. He's like, if I don't get Kendall Gervil, I'm going to lose my job. Kendall Gervil's a Gator. Like, he's just yelling. Gervil's dying laughing this whole interview. He could he's eating at the same time, and he couldn't even get his words out. And you could tell he's so comfortable at Florida. But it kind of reminds me of Derek LeBlanc a few cycles ago.
Yeah,
a kid that almost visits so many times where it almost, not saying it gets stale, but it's like he's like there's nothing. It's not as flashy as it used to be because he's been there so much. But I feel definitely a little bit better about this one. Florida will be in it to the end.
Love it. And then we got some tight end movement here. 5-star tight end, if I'm not mistaken. Our boy Callaway doing some work, Corey?
Yeah, I think with Caden Prothero, man, I think, Georgia, Florida, Auburn, those are the top 3. Alabama and Texas are in the mix as well. But yeah, the Dogs, the Tigers, and Gators, man, those are the top 3 that he's dealing with. And I know for a fact, and I've talked to a few people, positional fit is the most important thing to this kid. I know he's obviously, you look at him, obviously the picture we have up on the screen, he looks like a bigger receiver. Yeah, he looks almost like just an oversized receiver. And they're selling him on the cow pitch roll, saying, hey, you'll be split out most of the time. You're going to be a pass catching tight end. When he's on campus, they're showing like Amir Jackson's a guy that he kind of shadows around, be like, hey, this is the body type, the type of role you would have at Florida. And I know during Under Armour week, he actually asked to be in the wide receivers room. Like, he wants to be almost like a receiver. It's one of those guys that if you tell him, you're like Heasy Kent, the other tight end they're going after. Some schools want him to tackle, and he's like, hey, like, you're off my board. He dropped Alabama off his list because they want him at tackle. This is kind of a similar thing where this kid, if you tell him probably, hey, you're going to be an inline guy doing a lot of blocking, that could push that school off his list. And I know, in Georgia too, I think that you have to look at them as the early leader, but that Mark Bowman, the 5-star tight end, he's leaning towards Florida. They have another kid committed. So that could be a promising thing for Florida that could kind of bounce Georgia out of the mix depending on how they recruit him. Maybe they say, hey, don't worry about tight end. We just like you as a big pass catcher. But I know as far as Florida, they're one of the schools that's really selling him on fit. And he's like basically everything Florida's telling him he loves. I know Russ Calley's probably arguably up there as one of his best relationships. So, the Gator made program for NIL off the field stuff, he loves that. Another kid, when I asked him in the spring, what do you like about Florida? He said the people in the building. So I think right now, Florida's doing everything right with him. Obviously, it's a Georgia kid, so I think there's always that Georgia Bulldog factor with him, depending on what they do. But say if this kid was like from Tennessee or something like that, and it wasn't a Georgia kid, you would almost feel even better. But I think people in Gainesville, from what I've spoken to, they still feel optimistic about this kid. He fits their culture. He definitely feels like a Gator type kid when you talk to him. He fits kind of the type of guy that Napier would want on the team. And we'll kind of see how it all goes. He's been to Florida. He's seen everything Florida has to offer. I think personally it's going to go down to how Georgia finishes recruiting. Because even though this kid's a 5-star, you don't see too many schools that have 3 tight ends one cycle. Yeah, I mean, especially Mark Bowman's the number 1 tight end in the country. This kid's not far behind. But then it's like, how do you sell this kid? Be like, okay, come to class. You're a receiver now. Like, it's going to be very interesting for this kid. But I know Florida, they're definitely a real factor with this kid, and they're recruiting him well.
So you mentioned he's following Amir Jackson around and wants to be that kind of similar prototype. We haven't seen Amir Jackson. So is there something happening next year that we don't know about, Corey?
Yeah, no, it's funny. I was talking to another, and I was going to get there. There's another tight end too. I was speaking to not long ago, and they mentioned him and saying that, hey, this is going to be a guy. There's actually a kid in Michigan they're recruiting, another tight end, Lincoln Watkins, who will be OVing next month as well. A guy that's kind of been searching at Florida's board at tight end. And he said to me without saying his name, he's like, yeah, Florida's telling me they have a redshirt freshman who they're going to have on the field a lot this year. And I'm like, well, that's definitely Amir Jackson. Like, there's no, and because he's just another leaner kid, more of a pass catching guy. So I'm like connecting the dots. I'm like, this is another Amir Jackson thing they're bringing up. And the Forrest has been telling kids that he's going to be involved. And the thing with me, I didn't see him at all in the orange and blue game. So I know that makes you kind of wonder, like, is this just recruit talk, or maybe he is kind of just getting his wits about him. He's just learning the position. They're kind of bringing him along slow, but he is that different type of athlete Florida does have in the tight end room. Maybe as fall camp comes around, we'll see more of him. But that's the word that they've been telling kids. I know Caden Prothero, he actually says Amir Jackson's name when we talk to him. He's like, hey, that's the guy I'm shadowing.
So 5 wide, you just confirmed.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, so that's what I'm saying. They're gonna put him on the field. They said they're gonna have a bunch of different lineups out there. And I know we already know kind of the main guys at tight end. Hayden Hanson's gonna be one of the main guys.
Yeah.
I know, but behind him, I mean, it is kind of
Tony
up for grabs a little bit. So we'll see. Amir's a different type of athlete. I'm hoping, because you watch the film in high school, he's an explosive kid, man.
Stud.
So he's put on some good weight since he's been at Florida, and good for him for being patient. I think a lot of kids, being a high recruit, maybe would have hit the portal in this today and age in recruiting. But no, I mean, from what they're telling recruits, he's supposed to have a good role this year.
I mean, Bordyham, I think, was supposed to be that too. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
For sure. I believe Amir's a 4.4 runner, or he was in high school. Amir Jackson, 4.4 runner.
Yeah, no, he's a fast kid, man. He's a field stretcher for sure.
He was a kid that climbed
he definitely has all the
too.
attributes to be an impact guy, so we'll see.
That's cool to hear. It's kind of like fun that we kind of get a little insight through this recruiting track. Because again, I mean, I would say one thing that Florida has done a great job and a great track record of is they're not going to lie to get somebody. That's not their MO. They definitely sell you on exactly what you're going to get, because they don't want to deal with the nonsense later on. I mean, obviously, with it, we've seen with a lot of schools of, overpromise and underdeliver. I think they'd rather underpromise and overdeliver. Seems to be their trend. So hearing that 100%. is really cool and interesting to follow. But
and especially, I mean, hell, Amir Jackson stayed there. I mean, he could have easily entered the portal and said, "Oh, I don't have any playing time. Hayden Hanson's above me." No, he stayed at Florida, and he's willing to host kids. So
believe in the vision.
Believe in the vision. Yeah, and exactly, that's one of the guys that you want hosting kids when they come to the University of Florida. Somebody that's been there, they've went through the process, even though that they may have not have started yet. They're going through the process, and they're saying, "Hey, look, I like it here. I'm staying here. You need to stay here too. This is great," and so forth. So it's a good thing that he was able to kind of host him there on his visit.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, Corey, man, this has been great, as always, as you usually. This is awesome stuff. Thank you, as always, for hopping on. First live show. You crushed it, as always.
I always appreciate it, brother. No, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for always having me on. I always love coming on.
Yeah, man, a lot of great info. We'll definitely have to have you on over the next couple of weeks as this madness starts to ramp up, and get your thoughts and perspective of where we stand, how we look. Can we get some more big fish into the class? The good thing is we got a quarterback. I think that's always an important piece to have, and that's something we did not have last year. So I'm not panicking yet. I'll tell you when it's time to panic. I don't think it's time to panic now. Corey,
I think if you went into July with only one commitment or maybe two, then it's kind of like, then that's when someone asked me today, then that's when the panic button gets hit. But I think with Florida, they're not panicking. They know obviously these official visits are going to play out. Kids are going to be deciding soon. So I think by the time August hits, I think we'll have a whole different view on where this class sits. So no, we'll definitely catch up on it, man. And keep you guys updated, whatever we hear.
Tell them where they can find you, man. Keep up with all this stuff.
Yeah, Gators Online as always, man. That's obviously the website, the Twitter handle, and then for myself, just Corey_Bender. Simple as that. Same Twitter handle for going on 15 years. I'm getting old like Dave, so I'm just trying to do my thing, man. Just trying to. We're keeping busy, man. A lot of recruiting coverage. We'll have a ton of stuff on Friday and Saturday leading up to this big OV weekend. So definitely stay tuned. A lot of good stuff, and like we said in the show, we had some new additions to the list while we're live, so that's always fun stuff as well.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm also glad you guys added Blake, man. Shout out to Blake Alderman there. Shout out to him. And I think last time we talked, I wasn't even in my 40s. I'm 40 now, Corey. So, yeah, I'm getting
so you are 40 now. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. I'm a man.
I mean, you have less gray than me, man.
Yeah, I'm starting to get some gray. A little bit.
Are you?
A little bit.
Well, the problem is I have such a huge beard, so I'm destined to have gray in my beard. But I haven't shaved my beard since I got out of the military. Like I'll shave it and get it low, but I don't cut it.
Yeah, it's a percentage thing. You've got more area to grow, but you're bound to get some grace. So that's just
Yeah, man. Hey, I have a wife with another count. Like I'm good, man. No
two
complaints. I have no
kids.
one to impress.
I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever, dude. The hell with it.
You're the man, Corey. I appreciate it, Bubba. Go Gators.
Appreciate you
And go
guys. Have a
Lions.
good rest of the night, guys.
Hey, Corey.
Appreciate
You
it.
too, man.
Hey, man.
Corey Benner, ladies and gentlemen, from On3. Fantastic stuff as always. Man, crushes it. A lot of cool information, as usual. A lot of great insight from the guys that are visiting. Fires me up for this weekend too, man. It's something to watch. Keep up with them on On3 so you get all the insights. They'll be there. They're usually walking around waiting for these interviews to talk to these kids, and they'll probably give you some great insight as it's happening. So it'll be great. I know Keith will be probably there as well, rocking and rolling. They all will. I think they'll be all hands on deck this weekend. Before we move on,
man. I was gonna say Corey's my guy, man. We've been chatting back and forth for a little bit, man, and I would say I wouldn't worry about it right now, too, just considering the circumstances and everything else. And summer's usually always big, anyway.
Dave's panicking though. Boys and girls, over 250 strong. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Let's go over two things. One, we're gonna give a shout out to a special fan of the show, but before we do that, quick shout out to our sponsors today, which is Rocket Money. You sign up for something, forget about it. After the trial period ends, then it's changed. Month after month after month, the subscriptions are there, but you're not using them. In fact, I just learned that 85% of people will have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. Thanks to Rocket Money, I can see all my subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones I'm not using anymore. And now I'm saving more money. Listen, we know we love Rocket Money here. We love the fact that they're able to be your little accountant, your little manager, help you manage your subscriptions because you can see them all in one place. Not only can you see them all in one place, you can cancel them from within the app, which is absolutely fantastic. And which one step better, it's your personal accountant. Set your budget, save money, okay? See how much you're spending in certain areas so you can make the adjustments, so you can save up to buy yourself some new high top merch or maybe some other things that you guys need. But be sure to check out Rocket Money. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions today. Reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/hightopsports. That is rocketmoney.com/hightopsports. rocketmoney.com/hightopsports. Now, let's give some love and support to one of our supporters here, Braylon Hacker, I believe is how her name is pronounced. She was delivered with some harsh news. She is battling the fight with leukemia. So we wanted to give her some love and support and prayers from the High Top Sports family here. We're going to be sending her some gear because nothing makes you feel better than a High Top Sports hoodie. And make sure that we keep her in our prayers and we want to let her know that Gator Nation is behind her for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. People understand, you wake up every day. It's a gift that you have, just being able to wake up, get out of bed and breathe some air. And then there's people that have it as less fortunate than we do. And unfortunately, it is somebody really young at the age of 4. So just always, be grateful for what you have, be grateful for what you when you wake up and be just grateful that you have life and be able to go to work. I know we don't like work and we complain about it, but at least we're able to do it. And Braylon, she's here. She's fighting leukemia right now, and she's staying strong. And Gator Nation is going to support her really strong. So Braylon, we're here with you. You're going to make it through it. And guess what? When you do, you can come on High Top and give us a shout out, and you can be one of the guests. How about that?
Yeah, we got to hang out. Maybe we go to Disney or something. Braylon, I'm down. I'll on me. We'll rock and roll. But look, like Dave said, I think you're 100% spot on. It's make sure that you appreciate and understand how precious life is and enjoy it and smile, just like we see Braylon smiling here and enjoying her time. So we'll keep you guys updated with this story, but much love for Braylon and much prayers. Send your love and support, guys. Let's
keep on smiling, Braylon.
Yes, ma'am. All right, let's talk about the madness that happened yesterday. Once we can get rocking, that's not it. Where is she?
That's for later.
We're not doing that. Let's talk about this madness, boys. Miami lands Jackson Cantwell. Then he dropped 7 spots today, which was fun to see. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But obviously the madness that happened, Georgia felt really good about this pick right here. The number 1 tackle, like we heard Corey Benner talking about it. Then I'm talking at the buzzer. I'm talking 30 seconds to go. Reggie Miller hits 13 points with 13 seconds on the clock. Like, no way this happens type of stuff, right? And Miami comes in. The Fong bombs are flying hot and heavy. And I still have this feeling like this just seems like no way Georgia misses out on this. Like Georgia's set to have a top quarterback, the top offensive tackle. this is Kirby-esque. Like, it's got it all written all over it. Falls short. Then, obviously, the reports come flying out. My favorite part was his interview. Wrote about it today. He took a shot at Pete Nakos. I mean, Pete Nakos cannot stay healthy right now. And basically, he's called his narrative false about it being about money and all these things. Here's the thing. I mean, everybody is coming in from the other side saying that money was heavily involved, which is fine. Like, I don't think anybody cares. Like, that's we know that it's involved. That's
NIL.
Yeah, we even heard there were some guarantees that were a big factor. Like, that's fine. Like, if a school is willing to give you a guarantee where another school is not, like, that's fine. And look, Miami, like, they may not have the pedigree that Georgia has over the last decade of sending guys into the NFL, because they don't. But I think they have done a great job the last few years here with Cristobal there with their tackles. But here's the thing. Brooke Austin tweeted, sources told me last week, price tag for Jackson Cantwell escalated close to $5 million. Miami called late into the evening. Eventually, the guaranteed money won out, I'm told. That being said, Maribel and a few million aren't a bad decision. I agree. Now, another Bulldog reports, and look, I'm on the dog side from this perspective. They said, I think Georgia is really having some difficulty navigating the NIL space. That was from a other source. Then a Bulldog report said, there's a difference between struggling with NIL and drawing a hard line in the sand, saying we value our players who love football more than money, fire, energy, and passion. And I agree with this. You and I kind of talked about it a little bit. This has been an ongoing conversation. I've said this, that Billy has definitely took this stance as well, that I'm willing to pay you, but there is a line that I'm not going to go over. I'd rather you want to play. I'll pay you, but also you got to want to be here. If someone's going to overpay, and Miami has had a track record, which is fine. Like, this isn't a shot, so no one get offended about this. Miami fans love to get their panties in a wad. If that is your identity, that you are willing to spend more in other areas and have to make up for it in other areas, then so be it. It is what it is. I like the stance. I appreciate and respect the Georgia stance, because, look, I also think they are in the stance to say, hey, we have national championships in the last 5 years. We have more linemen that you can sniff into the NFL in the last 5 years. We can get you at a discounted rate because we're going to promise you to get you in the back end. I don't need to pay you in the front end, because if you are what you think you are, and are what you say you are, and are what these recruiting sites say you are, then you're going to be just fine financially. Don't worry about the guarantees. Worry about where we're going to take you. And I think they can have that pitch. They can do those things. And so I don't mind it. Shout out to Miami for spending the buck. I know you're like, why can't we do this? I personally don't want, I know it sounds dumb. I don't want to spend 2.5 on a guy like this. It's going to take from elsewhere. It's going to take from somebody else. And then if you got a guy like this 2.5, guess what? The price tag for everyone else is going to go up, because if they hear that he's spending this, everyone else is going to. I'll let you get your thoughts.
That was kind of the point I was going to make. It's like, yeah, you paid this kid all this money. And if what Brooks Austin said is actually true, because he said it was from a source, word of mouth, whatever, I'm not going to say that he's wrong.
He's a viable source. This isn't just
Yeah, I like Brooks. I like his film breakdowns and stuff like that. I think he's a really good guy. I think he's trustworthy. But if it is what he said it is, it's like, look what you just paid him now. So now any offensive lineman that comes to the University of Miami is probably going to want the same kind of bag if they're rated within that, little spectrum there. And maybe they won't. Maybe they'll take some top 150 guys, 200, and call it a day. But I do like the philosophy that Georgia's just like, hey, we're going to pay you this amount of money and that's it, because now that like Texas is paying and all that just make sure that Georgia's not going to be on top anymore. So that's pretty healthy for me. I trust me, I enjoyed watching Georgia Miami fans go at it this whole time. Like, I just been sitting like a kid in a candy store just watching Twitter and just making fun of all of them. But at the end of the day, the price tag does get driven up, but at the same time, you've got to. I am concerned where Florida is from a standpoint of, okay, you don't land any 5 stars, fine, whatever. I don't see any 4 stars really coming here. I mean, you got Zanamella from the portal. That was a situation that you just kind of got lucky. He needed to come back. He wanted to be back home. He's got homesick somewhere, so you got him from the portal. Fletcher Westball, really, really good, really, really good offensive lineman. That was a fair and square battle all the way to the end. And Roderick Kearney, a guy that you flipped from Florida State, which was there. But other than that, you haven't really seen any high 4-star guys. Now, I will say that Rob Sale has done a very good job of developing these offensive linemen. And I think now that Florida knows that Rob Sale can develop some of these offensive linemen. Do we really go ahead and spend the pocket on an offensive lineman that might be worth, I guess, the 2 million range or whatever the asking point is for a 5-star offensive tackle, offensive lineman? They still may go for one of them. You never know. But do you really want to spend all your jackpot cash on offensive linemen altogether? That's the big thing now with NIL. It's like you got a money pod. So you got to go heavy on one position one year and probably not as heavy on the other. And maybe Florida is saying, hey, maybe we'll get some couple of good offensive linemen in the cycle and then just cut it from there. But I also hate to say that too, because there's a lot of 3-star offensive linemen that develop and they're great. And that might be the key here. I mean, we're going to see it this cycle. I mean, not a lot of those offensive linemen were 4 or 5 stars coming out of high school. And look, you've got 2 guys on the offensive line right now that have been developed by Rob Sale and a little bit of Hevesy, but not really. And they're slated to go mock draft first round. We'll see if they end the year mock draft first round. But I mean, you got to tip your hat to Rob Sale and the development that they've done on that offensive line. So, I mean, I don't know what the strategy is for Florida, and I may be upset as a fan because we don't get it, but who cares about what I feel? All that matters is what the coaching staff feels, and if they feel that that's the way to go and it's working, and if I can't really say anything to it, like if my quarterback has plenty of protection, I'm good. Just make sure he has weapons, and Florida's done a great job of making sure that DJ Lagway has weapons with the wide receivers and Amir Jacksons and tight ends, and hopefully maybe this 5-star tight end. But they've done a good job with the weapons around him, so I can't really complain.
So here's my thing. Yinny, YNNY, says it's a terrible take that I said, and then makes the comment, and I love this. Look, elite teams pay the players. Why do you think elite O linemen aren't lining up to play for UF? Don't get mad when Florida misses the playoffs. Here's the thing. It's not a black and white conversation, okay? My point of it is that there's no need to overspend on one particular player. I think maybe a quarterback, right, that makes that much of a difference as somebody that maybe you overreach for.
Like a Lagway.
This argument is what makes me just irritable, is the fact that we think that Florida is being cheap, that we overlook the guys that are there currently. Like, Florida is willing to spend the money. They have been spending the money, and I think they're trying to find the best way to utilize that money. I'm not, again, just going out and just overspending on certain spots. It's a way, it's a method. It isn't always the best way. I think you have to definitely increase your spending. Yes, Ohio State has spent money. Georgia has not spent. They are a known commodity where they are not spending aggressively because they are in a different place. I've talked with the Georgia guys. I've talked with plenty of insiders that are close to the program. They're not just throwing cheddar around. Okay, has not been their thing. Michigan, outside of Bryce Underwood last year, but up to that point, have just really created a big culture. And we're going to talk about there's some smoke around that later.
Look, they had some Portnoy help with that though.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying you can't not spend it, but I think there's a way to doing it, and I'm just not a fan necessarily of just going out there and just buying the most expensive toy out there. That doesn't really fire me up. I'd rather have just a quality class. Again, that's why getting caught up in being the number one class, like, essentially, you're buying stars now. You're paying for what, in recruiting sites, I do a good job. This isn't a shot, but you got to think as a coach that my observation is maybe a little bit better or different than this. And so the value that you're getting this guy at could be a little bit cheaper than what this recruiting site is at. Never make you happy. I'm not going to try to please anybody, but sometimes people take an argument or my stance and just think that you're looking at it short-sighted. I understand your point. And sometimes it's fun to go get the big guy. Dallas Wilson wasn't cheap last year, boys. Okay, that was the number 2 wide receiver in the country.
No, he was not cheap. Not cheap.
That's
at
a
all.
Big splash. Like, to sit here and say that Florida isn't doing it, they are. I think they find, like, hey, there's value elsewhere that's worth spending. Keeping DJ Lagway, I promise you, he loves Florida. He's not playing just because out of the bottom of his heart. That probably isn't going to make anybody feel any better, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I give credit where credit's due. I mean, Florida's hit it out of the park with wide receivers, defensive linemen. I just said with Corey Bender. I mean, there's been positions where Florida's just knocked it out of the park, and maybe that's where their bread and butter is, and that's where they have their, I guess their strategy is like, look, if we develop better here, we can buy more here. We can. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, and obviously we have the revenue sharing thing coming up too. That'll be a big factor. I'm wondering what this president does here with NIL too. The new president we got in that came to Florida. That'll be a big story there, I guess, coming down in the months to come, figuring out what we're going to do with that. But I mean, as much as like my opinion is, it's like, yeah, I'm upset. But at the same time, like if I see the results, I can't really sit here and complain. I could be upset, but I can't complain. So
look, I get what you're guys saying too. Like, hey, you need to spend money to try to have traction quick. And look, I think Miami was able to go do a quick turnaround, but we've also seen them choke. So how much, is the
right.
return? Is the return there? Look, I mean, I would think we would all take a 10-2 season too. Let's not get it twisted. But this season really has to accumulate to be what it's supposed to be to really support the method that Florida has taken. Also, you have to understand, whatever Florida chooses to do, I'm going to support and be behind that and trust in the method that it is. If they wanted to go and be aggressive on their spending, and look, when you're aggressive on spending, you're going to fall short in other areas. Hence why Miami has been extremely aggressive in the portal this year. Like you're just not. There's still flaws in every way you do it. Some teams are able to overcome their flaws because they were more established in those areas. Georgia, like we said, recruited well, developed well, had a nice standing foundation, and are able to navigate through this NIL world a little bit differently because they had a foundation. Florida's had a strip of clean, Miami's had a strip of clean, so they're gonna have bigger holes to clean up. And now we're at a point where these holes, they better be tacked up and cleaned up, and we're about to find out if that's the case. But great conversation.
I will say that Napier has done one hell of a job from where he came from, where Dan Mullen recruited, to where he is now, because that was just a pit that he just entered when he came to the University of Florida, and it looks like he's cleared most of that up. So,
absolutely. All right, boys, we got a new little segment here, which I'm pumped for. Dave mentioned this a couple months ago, and I didn't hear him, I guess. And today I realized that, hey, this would be a good idea. The idea.
This was like over a year ago, but because we did it. Okay, so I'll explain it. So probably around 2018, I was at Chomp Talk, right? And this idea came up, and we were just like, oh, this will hit. And it did, but the problem was the show wasn't popular enough. Not a lot of people called in, so we scratched it. And we just completely just forgot about it for the longest time. I think I reminded you like a year ago. I was like, oh, yeah, we should try this. Forgot about it. And then I was just like, okay, we need to try this. I just remembered it again. So this time we jumped on it. So
yeah, I'm pumped. Before we play the clips, though, so what happened? How this works? People call into this hotline, leave voicemails. We've got 7 or 6 to go over tonight, which I'm super pumped for. I haven't listened to them. I listened to it quickly just to make sure they weren't kind of like egregious. There were people that I've heard call in before, and they were all they sounded lighthearted. Now, towards the end, it might get a little raunchy. I don't know, but this should be fun. I'm really excited about it. Don't be afraid to call in. People don't even say their names, so no one's even know who you are, where you're from. So you're all good. Everything's protected. It's on a secured line. You're not going to worry about anybody hacking into your stuff by calling us in. That's a concern. But quick shout out to our other sponsors, which is FOCO. We're running a partnership, a little deal with them. Again, a huge giveaway with FOCO. When you use the code HighTopSports, when you purchase any item on their website from $2 to $100, you enter yourself into a drawing to win yourself a pair of their Gator overalls. Now, again, got to use code HighTopSports. Got to send me at hightopsports2@gmail.com with the subject line overalls, just Gator overalls, to put yourself into the drawing for those overalls. But again, check out FOCO. Use the link in the description. Again, HighTopSports is your code. You can buy something for $2 to be entered into a chance to win $90 overalls. Absolutely fantastic. That code works on everything outside of pre-order items and already discounted items. So keep those things in mind. But I think they have like a $3 item, and you put this code in, you get a little discount. And so now you're basically just not much at all to win yourself a nice pair of overalls. So go check out FOCO. All right, let's dive into the first voicemail. We ready, Dave? Pumped.
ready.
Sunshine Skyway, Veterans Expressway, DJ Lagway, Gators National Champions 2026. Book it now.
I hope that means this coming year, right? Like because
yeah, 2026. It would technically be 2026 because it's in January. Yeah. So.
Sunshine Skyway, Veterans Expressway, DJ Lagway, Gators National Champions 2026. Book it now.
I love it.
There you go.
Great stuff. All right, next one.
Hello, High Top fam. My hot take, I actually have a couple of them. One, Florida is going to beat Georgia by 14 points. And two, Georgia is going to lose 3 games this year. Alabama, us, and Texas. As always, Gators by a million, baby.
Not a bad take. Look, I think Josh, this dog fan commented on my video. He goes, "You dummy, you have Georgia behind Florida." I go, "No, dummy. Learn how to read and listen. It's Josh Pate's list, you dummy." Because he watches Uncle Lou, you 5-star dummy. I think it was Motivated Dedicated. So if you're watching, dummy. But yeah, look, I think Georgia takes a subtle step back. And I mean, 3 losses still puts you into a good conversation. And what's frustrating, and I put myself into these shoes, you especially, I understand we troll and we have fun. And people think that it's coming from a place of just me being a hater. It's not. I just think that football is evolving, and Georgia hasn't shown me the development in the quarterback room to make me believe they're going to go do some great things. They lost a lot of talent once again into the NFL. I understand they do a great job of reloading, but they were kind of hanging on by a thread last year for a lot of games. And that Florida-Georgia game, obviously, we know how we felt it going. I don't know if Gunnar takes you to that next level. I think the running back room is going to be fine. They lose Tate Ratledge, who was a massive piece to that offensive line, although he was out for a lot last year too. So we'll see how it plays out. I think they got a lot of young talent coming into that secondary. KJ Bolden, they're going to lean heavily on, which that's fine. He was a 5-star cat coming into this, played a lot last year. But think about it, they've got a younger crew headed in. So great take. Alabama. Look, I think Alabama could be a team that takes a step back too, but I think that's going to be a great game as usual. And I think Bama has some things they've got to answer. But great takes, Street. Great takes.
Yeah, for a team that's had a bunch of 5-star quarterbacks come through, I mean, you won all your natties with a walk-on, and you haven't done anything with the 5-star quarterbacks that have come through anywhere at Georgia. And look, like, I like to take shots at Georgia. I feel kind of the same way. I think they take a step back just because you look at that Georgia Tech game, right? That quote unquote pass interference on 4th down in the end zone that wasn't pass interference that saved their ass in that game. I mean, you got to look at a lot of those games and how close they were and how much they got saved. And then the fact that, like, you want to sit there and say, oh, well, Lagway went down. You guys wouldn't have won anyway. You don't ever know that. Plus, Lagway beat the team you couldn't beat. So, I mean, I don't know, man. So I think Georgia takes a step back.
All right, next call.
Hey, High Top. This is Gator Josh. Here's my prediction for next season. Gators go 10-2, 9-3 at the worst. We have 2,000 total yards rushing from our running backs. DJ Lagway goes for at least 3,500 yards passing and scores at least 30 touchdowns passing and rushing. Woo. And then Swolderquist barely gets it, but he improves his max overall bench press to 155. There you have it. Gator Josh.
Those are some sunshine pumpy numbers. I tell you, that sounds like, I think that was a Stephen Harris call in right there. 2,000 yard rushing for both our running backs, 3,500 yards passing, and 30 tutties from DJ Lagway. I guess we're putting up 90 points this year a game, Dave.
Hey, you hear that, John Ruiz? That push-up contest? I'm getting that 155 out there. I'm going to rep that thing for Josh. I might be able to do 30 reps of that.
I think you got it.
Yeah, I got it, man.
Let's go, boys! Tonight's hot take, Florida Gators football is going to have some night games in the swamp, unlike our boys up north. Let's go, Gators by a million! Whoa!
That wasn't even a take. That was just somebody that just called in.
This is the greatest idea ever. I think this is only going to ramp up. Yeah. The short ones fire me up because you're like, what could you have got out in that little time? This one's 6 seconds. Here we go.
Hi, this is High Top Rook, and my hot take is a 41-17.
That's it. 41-17.
All right, last one. Here we go. Longest one.
I think that we don't need Billy Napier because DJ Lagway has exclusively said, and I quote, "Nothing can make me leave Florida." We don't need any of those bad play calls that has cost us games like that Tennessee game. Everybody was hyped when DJ hit that touchdown. But when he changed his mind on that 2-point play, everybody thought that Billy was done for it. Like, that was it. So we don't need Billy Napier. I think we can get him as a recruiter. Although he is a good coach, he's not really made out for the SEC, and DJ really saved his job.
Do you want to tell Billy? Or hopefully Billy's watching. Like, hey, just go recruit Billy. Let DJ handle it.
Yeah, Billy.
Great
Billy,
take.
knock this segment off of here. Don't listen to this segment. I mean, I guess you could say you got a point with the 2-point thing because I felt like they should have went for 2 anyway. And I know that they called a timeout and things got messed up and they just went and kicked the extra point. I mean, but if Billy doesn't make that 2-point conversion, then everybody thinks he's an idiot anyway. So it's like, would you rather just kick the extra point or go for 2? But yeah, Billy Napier's play calling, I can kind of agree with a little bit, but I think that now that he's got his set quarterback, now I think it's a lot easier for him to call those plays. But I mean, this is a dual threat quarterback system, so yeah. But that was a funny voice.
I think that was incredible. It
was great,
phenomenal idea. I can't wait
for just having that number up for like I think it was like 10 minutes, 2 hours. We had like 7 voicemails just already in those 2 hours.
I'm concerned that because I mean it's out there now. This thing can we delete these so we know? We need to go through and delete them if you know how to, just so we can we don't get lost in the sauce here. We try to keep some organization if we can. But great stuff.
It has the dates and times when the voicemails come through too. So like if you remember today's date and time.
True.
Yeah. But there are people that listen to audio version of this, so you might want to give them the number. Actually, I'll give them the number. It is if you want to call in and leave your take or message, or if you're just a Miami fan that wants to talk crap or Georgia fan that wants to talk crap, I'll probably save it. But it's 352-234-6040. Any of your takes, complaints, comments, whatever, we'll take them. We're men. We're grown men. We can take it. Okay.
It goes to Dave's wife's cell phone. So just if you guys want to send any photos, you can. You can do that, too. Boys and girls,
please
great
refrain
show.
from that.
Great show. Let's do one last little thing here. Message boards are the best. It's where you get all your information. If you guys want to know what's going on in the world, go to your message boards. Here's a crazy message board right now from the Buck Nuts message board rumors.
Buck Nuts?
Smoke or fake. Rumors are circulating that Bryce Underwood is talking to LSU again. One rumor has him and his mother scheduled to visit LSU. Another is that Scum is not making good on NIL, meaning Michigan, and Bryce is looking elsewhere. I love the smoke, but it's too late. He can't go anywhere, right?
Well, I know when Santa left, I say Santa like Santa Claus, it's Santa Ono, the new president of Florida. So when he had left, I saw some smoke from like Ohio State fans saying Michigan's about to get the hammer, this kind of stuff. Now, I don't know of anything, so I'm not a Ohio State or Michigan insider or anything, but I saw comments like that. So maybe there's something going on in Michigan we know nothing about. But if that smoke is true, because, I mean, he got paid a lot of money to come to Michigan. I mean, we were talking about the Portnoy. Yeah, the Portnoy thing. He got paid a lot. So if he's willing to leave Michigan.
It wasn't Portnoy. It was part Portnoy, but there was like a business owner that was part of it bigger. Portnoy facilitated it. He kind of helped bring it together. But he didn't throw all the money at it.
Oh, he chipped in, though, right? Did he chip in, or was it just somebody?
I'm sure he did, but I don't. Middleman? I think he was more of the conversational piece, and like connecting like his relationship with this owner the owner, the person who donated was a fan already. I think he helped kind of bring people together. He knew both parties to make it work. Maybe he helped a little bit, but he wasn't the backing factor. No, not that big. I'm sure he's put money.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure he's put money. I'm not saying that.
All I seen was a bunch of people commenting the same thing about Michigan and Hammer, but I have zero clue of what's going on over there. But if he's willing to leave after getting paid all that money,
we're not here breaking news. It's message boards talk, which they're always fun. To be fair, our message board usually when we see smoke like this, I would say 8 out of 10 times it comes to some sort of fruition. Okay. I got to be honest with you. The Highburn smoke that dropped there first. Like you hear a lot of crazy stuff.
Was that from a mod? The message board was that from a mod from the message board or staff member, or was it just like a random username? User 83456.
Derek Carr. That's Derek Carr.
Derek Carr, like the actual Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
No staff. It's not a mod though, right?
How do I know if it's a mod?
It'll say staff right beside it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's probably just some guy. that knows somebody's cousin, that talks to a team, cousin member, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Those people know stuff, though. Don't sleep on those guys. That's how we get all of our information. We just read message boards and we report it as the news.
Yeah, that's right, man. I mean, like, I have like no memberships to message boards except for 247. And I got that one for a discount. So 5 finger.
It. Great show. Great show as always, boys. We are headed to Disney tomorrow with the fam. Beyond pumped. Beyond excited. So if you don't see me, that's why. You won't see me. You'll see clips and you'll see us post some things that we've got saved up. Actually, whoa, wait a minute. Friday, I forgot. We interviewed Scooter Magruder yesterday. That will be dropping on Friday. So,
yep.
Cool stuff there. Great interview. Get to hear his thoughts, how he got started, his passion for Florida football. Fun interview until his phone died. But up until that point, it was a great time. Good stuff. So check that interview. I'll be dropping Friday morning. Look, just because I'm out rock and roll doesn't mean the grind doesn't stop, boys. We be pumping out content left and right, whether it's on here, whether it's on our art. We're writing articles. I was cooking today. I wrote about our boy Cantwell. I wrote about our boy, I can't even think of his name. I talked about Alex Condon possibly returning. So if you guys want to go to read every now and then, sitting on the toilet, and you want to you miss us, hightopsport.com. Forget the S. I'm Shelton. That's Dave Swolder, boys and girls. Shout out to our boy Corey Bender as well. And Braylon Hacker. Prayers. Y'all be good.
If you get bored, man, you can follow me on Twitter at HighTopDave. I'm pretty entertaining. So.
This is true. He does not sleep. Y'all be good, boys. Peace and love.